Good afternoon. Welcome to our third annual Healthy Global Eating class here at our Hoag Family Cancer Institute in Newport Beach, California. We are live and we are here to share some recipes that are delicious and healthy at the same time. And I'm here with my colleagues, Ellen Kim and Carolyn Petrak, and we're going to be sharing some recipes from each of our individual cultures. And if you have any questions as we're presenting, please submit your questions and we will answer them at the end of our presentation. So we're so excited that you're here, and I will be the first one to start. So my heritage is Lebanese, and one of the things I ate growing up was something called Zata. And when it's put on bread, we call it manaish. So manaish is basically the term for an Arabic bread. So while I was growing up in Canada, where my family immigrated from Lebanon too, my mother would get together with her family and her friends, and she would spend the weekend making homemade Lebanese bread and do many, many things with it and freeze it. So we had seriously 3 freezers in our house, so that if my dad had people over at a last minute notice, my mom could cook food for 15 people without complaining, which she did, and she was wonderful. So Zata is a spice, and this is what it looks like. Some of you may have seen it. You can buy it at Middle Eastern markets. Just in the past, I would say 4 or 5 years, you can buy it at Trader Joe's, you can buy it at the supermarket. Funny thing is Ellen told me at work, Mona, they have Zata at Trader Joe's. I'm like, great, I don't have to go to a Middle Eastern market and buy that. And then my family sent me a TikTok of some Lebanese lady making fun of the Zata at Trader Joe's. So apparently one of the ingredients is missing at Trader Joe's. So based on that TikTok, I would recommend that you get it from a Middle Eastern market, because it doesn't have all the ingredients in it, but I'm sure it'll taste as good. May not have the exact nutritional value, but I just thought that was kind of funny. There's even a TikTok on Zata. There's a TikTok on everything. So I want to talk a little bit about the nutritional value. So when I was talking the other day to someone in my family, like maybe 3 months ago, before I knew what I was going to do for this class, my sister-in-law told me back when she was growing up in the Middle East that her parents would tell her and her sister to eat Zata before they went to school because it would make them smarter and remember more. And I was like, okay, that sounds kind of weird. But then when I read the nutritional value, I'm like, that's probably true. So I'm going to read a little bit about what the nutritional value is, because it's a little bit extensive. The health benefits of Zata are very impressive. And this is, of course, the thyme, the oregano, the marjoram, the sesame seeds, and the sumac are the main 5 ingredients, along with the salt. So it improves your immune system, it boosts skin health, it builds strong bones, it increases circulation, it clears out your respiratory tract, it soothes inflammation, it's an energy booster, improves memory. So when I saw that online, I'm like, seriously? I called my sister-in-law that day. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. It's true. What your mom told you was true. It treats chronic illness. And sumac, thyme, and oregano are full of flavonoids, which are full of antioxidants, as you know, that can protect your cells from damage. As far back as the 12th century, there were scientists and philosophers that used Zata, that's how long it's been around, for coughs and other illnesses and bronchitis. There's blends, the blend itself is high in vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Sumac, which is the red spice that's in here, but when it's actually in with the Zata, it doesn't look really red. It's more like it's a dried berry. Sumac is, by the way, a dried berry with like a lemony flavor. It has got omega-3 fatty acids, and it's exceptionally high in antioxidants. And sesame seeds are considered one of the healthiest seeds that you can get. They have magnesium, iron, calcium, zinc. It's rich in dietary fiber, a high-quality protein, omega-6, and it's an antioxidant. So, there's lots of things that these 3 different spices, these 3 or 4 different spices have. So how do we make the Zata on the bread? So as I mentioned, growing up, my mother would make her own dough and her own bread, and after the dough was made, she would prepare the manaish, the bread. I do not make my own dough, So I buy the Greek bread. I'm going to hold it up. From Costco. There's like 8 in a pack. I think it's called papapita, and I think it's written in your recipe. You can also use naan bread. Once I even bought Bridgeford dough in the frozen section, and they have little rolls, and I pound them out, and I put the Zata on there with olive oil, and it tastes a little bit more authentic and closer to home. But this is pretty close, even though you're not making your own dough. So traditionally, this food is eaten in the morning for brunch as a snack. You can have it with a meal, but it's usually more of a morning or brunch or snack type of food. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you, is I'm going to take some olive oil and put it in this bowl, and I'm going to add the Zata and mix it around. So when Ellen saw it today, she's like, Mona, it's a lot thicker than I thought. So, you don't want to make it too thick or too thin, but I've just put some olive oil. I'm actually going to just take the top off. And this morning when I prepared the bread and the Zata together, I used about 1/3 of this bottle to cover up six loaves of the bread. So right now I put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom, and I added the Zata. And usually I start with less and not more, and then I decide. Now this looks a little thin to me, so I just want you to see the consistency. I know the first time I made this as a young new cook, it was a little bit. I just do a couple of tries to get the consistency right on, but that is what the consistency should look like. So I've got my piece of Greek bread, and now I just basically pour it on, and then I'm smoothing it out just to cover pretty much the whole piece. As you can see, it smells delicious. If you've ever eaten it or smelled it, it's got a great aroma, and when it's in the oven, it's really hard. You just can't wait for it to be done to eat it. So I've covered this up, and what I do is I take a cookie sheet, I spray it with a little bit of Pam, and I put 3 or 4 loaves of bread on the cookie sheet, and I bake it for 350, at 350 I should say. And just when the bottom's a little bit brown, you know it's done. Obviously take it out of the oven and wait for it to cool down so you don't burn yourself. And we eat the manish or the Zata. The manish is just kind of the term of the bread and the Zata combined. Is we put a yogurt cheese. It's called Lebanese. Sometimes we spread that on top. Sometimes we put olives on top. Sometimes we slice tomatoes, sometimes cucumbers. I personally just put the yogurt cheese on top, and I love it. That's my favorite way of eating it. It's really good if it's warmed up a little bit. So when I have leftovers, I usually put it in the oven to reheat it. It's a little bit better than putting it in the microwave. But it's got a little bit of a tarty taste to it, and it's delicious. Pre-COVID, when we used to share a lot of food at work, I would bring some of this into work sometimes and share it with my team, and it seems like it's pretty much fit most people's palate. Most people liked it. So that is my recipe, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation of my recipe, and if you have any questions, let me know. And I'm going to hand it over to Ellen Kim, my colleague, who will be talking about Korean bean mung pancakes. Did I say that right?
Mung bean pancake.
Mung bean pancakes. Okay.
It's okay.
So Ellen, take it away.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ellen Kim. I'm one of the social workers at Hogue, and I wanted to introduce you to one of the oldest recipes from the Korean cuisine. It's as old as about 500 years old because I guess it was created during the Joseon dynasty, one of the longest ruling dynasty in Korea, from 1392 to 1897. And I'm really excited about introducing this recipe to you because it's really healthy and it's kind of becoming more popular. If you go online and just Google Korean mung bean pancakes, you will find several recipes in English. And this recipe was actually featured in the Netflix's 2019 Street Food, the South Korea episode. So if you watch that, I think it's about 30 minutes long, And one of the dishes that they actually introduce is actually Korean mung bean pancakes. So in Korean, it's called nokdu. There are two different names. Nokdujeon, which literally means mung bean pancake, and then bindae-deok is another word for the pancake. But bindae kind of comes from the king in the olden days, kind of giving these pancakes to the poor during famine to help the poor. So that's, I think, that's how the word was originated, bindae-deok. Deok means rice cake or cake, pancake. If you see this, you will notice that it's a little yellower than what you would normally see on the internet, because the reason is I modified the recipe from a website called mangchi.com. She's one of the a handful of Korean English-speaking Korean chefs that introduce Korean cuisine on the internet. She has her own YouTube. She has now several cookbooks. So what I did was I kind of modified it to make it more nutritious, especially for cancer patients. And the reason why it's more yellow is because I added turmeric. So if you see it on the ingredients, you'll see that I added a turmeric. So I'm going to go over the ingredients because you're not really familiar with these ingredients. But before I go into that, I want to make sure that you understand that the main ingredient is the mung beans. And because it's a plant-based protein, beans have plant-based protein, it's actually really healthy compared to animal-based protein. It has a lot of vegetables. So, but because it's the main ingredient is the beans, the most nutritious or the main nutritional value of this pancake is fiber. And fiber, I recently actually finished the holistic nutritionist certification course, and I learned that fiber actually contributes to your overall health. It helps with your bowel movements, and it just has so many different health benefits. So I want you to refer to the nutritional page at the bottom of my recipe and go to those pages and learn more about it. And I didn't bring all the ingredients, but I'm going to go over the ingredients really quick. So these are peeled mung beans. The unpeeled mung beans are green, and you can find this at a Korean market or Asian market. Just look for peeled mung beans. And I actually added a lot of picture images on the handout so that you can you can easily find these ingredients. If the handout is color, you'll be able to easily identify them. So peeled mung beans, and then this is a kind of an interesting vegetable that you might not be familiar with. It's called mulgosari or fern break. So this is like a type of fern that grows on the mountains. I guess Korean people just thought that it was healthy and it was nutritious food.
Thank God we don't go to the mountains to get ferns is all I gotta say. Thank God they come in a package.
So this particular, they grow in the mountains. I remember when I was in high school or junior high, my mom went to Big Bear to actually get these.
She climbed up on the mountain to get that? No, she didn't. Did she really?
She did.
Oh my God. But typical ethnic mom would do.
Yeah. So, so this particular fern break is actually water fern break. So you will find the dried versions in Korean markets or in Asian markets, but this is a vegetable that is associated with mung bean pancake. So without kosari or this fern break, without kosari, it's actually, if the kosari is not in the pancakes, it's really not considered traditional. So, but you don't have to use this if you have a hard time finding it or locating it. You can replace some of these vegetables with the vegetables you like carrots, chives.
So that's considered a vegetable?
Yeah, it's considered a vegetable.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, just kind of considered it as an herb or herbal vegetable. And then the other ingredients that I use are bean sprouts. And I learned, preparing this for this class, the bean sprouts are actually the sprouts of the mung beans. So the bean sprouts they use in pad thais and in stir fries, they're actually the bean sprouts of the mung beans. So they kind of match. You're using the beans and the sprouts. And then green onions. And then I'm going to introduce you to interesting thread. This is called shredded chili thread. So in Korean cuisine, they dry the chilies and they cut it really, really finely, like as if it looks like a very thin thread, right? And then you just, as you're cooking this, making the pancake, you just put a little bit of a few threads on top of the pancake before you flip it. So when you flip it, you can actually see the red chili peppers, or the shredded peppers on top. So it's used as a garnish, but it makes the food a little bit spicy, so it adds a little more flavor. And then you can find it in a jar like this. It literally says shredded red pepper, or in Korean, 실고추, thread pepper. So you don't have to use this, and you can also use bell peppers. I actually julienned a few bell peppers, and then let me show you the pretty one. And then I just fry it like this. Yeah. Okay, it's about like about half an inch of thickness when you make the pancakes. And then, so I'm gonna go over quickly how you prepare it. So before you prepare it, you have to soak the beans overnight, along with a little bit of short grain rice. So Asian short grain rice. Or you can replace that with powdered or ground sweet rice, which is it's a stickier rice than the regular rice. Let me go to the ingredients first. Yeah, and then so when you soak those the rice and the mung beans overnight, in the morning or the next day, you can just use a regular blender and then blend the rice first, because you want to grind it really, really finely. You don't want rice granules. And then you add the soaked mung beans and then just pulse it. Don't grind it too finely, because you want a little bit of the graininess from the beans, for texture. And then you add all the vegetable. So in this particular recipe that I got from mangchi.com, she just uses fresh bean sprouts. She just adds the fresh bean sprouts. And then I omitted the pork to make it healthier. And then you can use the egg or not. I didn't use egg in this one to make it vegan. And then green onions, garlic cloves, salt, and turmeric, which I used. Ground black pepper. And then I added some chives in this one, just to make it, I had leftover chives. So whatever vegetables you have in your fridge, you can actually put them in there to your liking. So you just make this batter. Think of it as making a pancake. We make the batter and then heat the pan like medium high, and then just use maybe a 1/4 cup size of a ladle or large spoon, and then make individual the pancake. But in other recipes, they can make a big pancake too. But the reason I think why they make it so small is because they want to eat it while it's crispy. So if you make a big batch of a big round pancake, that means you have to cut it up, and the edges around the pancake is not going to be crispy. So I think the trick is make it smaller, and then I use scissors to cut it, or you can use a knife to cut it, and then you dip it in this particular ponzu. This is called ponzu, but it's a citrus seasoned soy sauce with lime flavor, and I like this one because it's so easy. I just pour it, and then I dip this and add some sesame seeds. I ran out of the white ones, so I brought the black sesame seeds. And then I add chili oil just to make it a little bit hot, spicy, and then I just dip it.
I bet you Zata would be really good on top of that.
Yeah.
You could take Zata and sprinkle Zata on it.
Yeah, you can make it like...
Because it's got the sesame seeds and it has like a tarty flavor.
That's right, yeah.
And you get both healthy things together. You become Lebanese and Korean all at one time.
So you can be creative. So that's how you make it. So it takes time to make individual pancakes. So on each side, you have to, I would say 3 to 4 minutes on each side. It takes a while. It's not flour, so it takes longer to cook it. Yeah. So just make sure you use a generous amount of oil. You're actually frying this in a pan. So if you watch the Netflix episode, it's like this deep. It's like deep frying. And I was like, oh my God, that's a lot of oil. I don't know if that's healthy. But if you only use a little bit of oil, it's not going to be crispy. So that's the trick. If you want to make it crispy, then use a lot of oil. And I use avocado oil or grapeseed oil to make it healthier. That has a high smoke point. And then I have a recipe for dipping sauce, and I think you can easily put it together. Just follow the recipe, and then you can use soy sauce or use ponzu. Alrighty.
Ellen, I have a question. Is this something that's typically eaten for breakfast or as a snack?
Yeah,
and would you say the flavor is more like tarty or sweet? It doesn't sound like it would be
savory.
sweet.
It's very savory and crispy. And I grew up eating. I forgot to talk about the background. So I grew up eating this as a child during the Korean Harvest Festival or Korean Thanksgiving. So Koreans and Chinese East Asians, they celebrate the Chinese Lunar New Year, right? So the 15th day of August on the lunar calendar is the Korean Thanksgiving. So it changes every year because lunar calendar, it changes every year. So so that's when Koreans in Korea visit their hometown and visit their ancestors' graves, and they clean up the graveside, and when they come home or even at the graveside, they actually eat this particular dish. So it's a traditional Korean pancake that Koreans eat during major Korean holidays. And on Korean New Year's Day on January 1st, they also make a lot of this. So they make a lot, but big batch, so that the extended family can all enjoy. I grew up, I remember my mom making this with other women in our family in one corner of the house and just chatting away. And I have really fond memories of just eating this and watching, relatives and, playing games and on New Year's and Chuseok. Chuseok is the word for Thanksgiving in Korean. So I hope you can try making this because it's really healthy and it's really good as a snack. But I actually eat this for lunch. I bring 3 pancakes for lunch, and then that fills me up. And that's the good thing about, and this can be considered as a diet food if you want to cut on carbs and just eat plant-based protein. You will feel full really fast, but also it actually gives your body a lot of protein and all the vegetables.
Ellen sits next to me safely, and I get to see her. And when you
yeah.
Yes. Do you heat it up though when you?
Yeah, I microwave it.
Yeah, I can smell it.
Again.
Yeah, I can smell it. It's very. Yeah.
And what I do,
smells good.
I just freeze them in the fridge, and then when I want to eat it, I just microwave it or pan fry it again. So it's a lot of work to make the batter. So you want to make a large batter if you have the energy and time, and then it takes time to cook it. But if you freeze it, then actually you can. It's so convenient just to pull it out of the freezer and then just microwave it. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Caroline. I am also a social worker here at Hogue, and when we were thinking about our recipes of what to make, I'm Irish, so I thought what perfect timing other than a week after St. Patrick's Day to introduce healthy shepherd's pie. I think everyone's sort of heard of shepherd's pie. An easy way to make it healthy was instead of using potatoes, using cauliflower. So just to give a little background, shepherd's pie was actually created, I found out, after England had taken control of Ireland in the 15th century. And the Irish Catholics lost a lot of protection from the government, causing a lot of financial strain on the Irish families. So shepherd's pie was created off of Irish housewives learning to become frugal with their cooking. And it's believed it's sort of made up of leftover ingredients throughout the week. So what better way than to make this midweek? So this shepherd's pie is actually pretty easy to make. Some of the ingredients, like the cauliflower, is really high in fiber. It's an easy way to make it healthy, is instead of like the heavy mashed potatoes that you usually layer on top, is making mashed cauliflower. So the way that I sort of made this, and I'll give the nutritional ingredients as well throughout, is that you take the cauliflower, which the recipe calls for a head of cauliflower, but it's a lot easier having cauliflower florets because it's already chopped for you. So you throw this in a strainer with water, let it steam. And while that's going on, you can get the food processor out, and you're actually going to process, once it's steamed, with cream cheese. So if you get the third less fat, it's an easy way to make it healthy. It's good for calcium, but way less fat than the whole fat cream cheese. And then once the cauliflower is actually steamed through and soft, you can throw it in the food processor with the cream cheese, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper for taste, and then you process that up into sort of a mashed mixture. And then set that aside. And then the yellow onion, which is also high in fiber, really good for your heart, and it's really easy to digest. If you dice that up and throw it in a pan to saute, and then once that sort of turns the golden yellow that you want the onion to turn, you throw in the ground turkey, which ground turkey is another easy way, instead of like the regular beef that you cook with for shepherd's pie. Getting the low-fat ground turkey, which is really high in protein, low in fat, it's got a lot of protein in it. And so you throw the ground turkey in once the onion is cooked through, let that cook all the way through, and then as the turkey's cooking, you can turn the oven on. You're going to be baking this at 375, and then as the turkey's cooked through and the onion, you're actually going to be throwing in tomato paste to thicken up the mixture. At first I wasn't sure how it would come out because tomato paste is sometimes kind of a rough thing to cook with, but it came out really good. And so once that is mixed up, you're going to throw in these frozen vegetables, which really, when you look at this dish, it is straight protein and vegetables. There's like barely any carbs other than the carbs that come from the vegetables. And these mixed veggies come with a ton of vitamins, A, B, and C, all of that. A lot of calcium for bone strength as well. And so as you're cooking the veggies, you throw the frozen veggies into the pan and let that kind of steam through and soften up. And it's honestly took about 15-20 minutes at max to make. It's a really easy dish. I thought it would be really easy during the week, especially if you're working or have kids, all of that. So once the turkey and vegetable mixture is sort of cooked through, you throw it in a pre-greased pan. And then once that's spread out, you top it with your cream cheese and cauliflower mixture, and to top it out like this. And then you basically bake it in the oven for 20 minutes, and it comes out really good. Top it with your spice, but it's an easy weeknight meal. Yeah.
We all want that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's
Wonderful.
all it. Thank you.
I think we're done
Yeah.
with the recipes. We've got a couple questions, and please keep bringing your questions in, because we have to go back to work when we're done, so ask us a lot of questions. We don't mind. The first question is for Ellen, and it's, is the ponzu sauce salty?
Oh, so it's a soy sauce base. So it's a little tart because ponzu is basically citrus-based soy sauce. So it's light. It's lighter than soy sauce. I see that in this bottle, the nutritional fact says so sodium. Where's the sodium? Well, it doesn't list how much sodium there is. It's not as salty as the typical soy sauce. It's lighter and the citrus based, so it's like tangy,
Nice flavor.
vinegary. Yeah.
Okay. And the second question that we have, and I think this might be for Caroline, is it okay to eliminate the kosher salt from the recipe? I'm on the person that asked the question is on a no salt diet. Do you have kosher salt in yours?
A tiny bit. I honestly did it for taste, but you could probably omit it. It's really more for taste preference. Some people, of course, that love salt, but I think no salt would be fine. You can add more spice like the thyme and other sort of ingredients to kind of make up the flavor.
And if you go to Trader Joe's, they sell a spice called 21 Salute.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's like a combination of 21 spices to make it seasoned enough to replace a salt with.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Costco
Wow.
sells it too.
Okay,
Costco,
21
Salute.
21 Salute. Cool. Never heard of that.
Or Mrs.
Cool.
Dash.
Oh, it's Mrs. Dash.
No, it's kind of like Mrs. Dash.
Oh,
It,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. I
It's-
never really knew what Mrs. Dash was. That's very cool. Wow. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions coming in. But I would just like to thank all of you for attending. If you've got any other questions about any of the supportive services that we have here at Hoag at the Family Cancer Center, you can dial 1-949-7-CANCER or 949-722-6237. And I have to look at the number because everything's on speed dial nowadays, so I have to read that to you. So once again, 949-722-6237 or 1-949-7-CANCER. And thank you so much, and we hope to do this again. And thank you all for attending, and hope you enjoy.
And our email addresses are at the bottom of the recipes if you want to contact us.
Healthy
Thank you.
eating and healthy living.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.